Streaming live around the world, this is Paper Cuts.
No! God, please, no! No!
With Brad and Jay.
We need like some name tags with our picture on it, all laminated and whatnot. I mean, we gotta look legit, man.
You sound insane. Do you realize that?
We are live.
Wow.
Crap.
That's-
Hold on.
Wait.
Okay, hold on. Now go.
Did you finish it yet?
No, I didn't.
So prepared for the show. Oh,
Hey,
look,
at least I'm here, Jay. At least I'm here.
we got an alert saying we're going live. How about that?
Who did that? That's our intern. I
Yeah.
got the intern on our Twitter accounts now.
For those tuning in, welcome to another exciting episode of Paper Cuts. I feel like I should say that in a way like I'm actually getting cut. I don't know. Like I should have like blood split. It is Friday the 13th, right?
It is.
And I should have that sort of like blood splurting out and stuff. What's going on, everyone? My name's Jay. As always, thanks for joining us. And over this way,
Always
Brad
backwards.
Proctor.
What's going on, guys?
Exciting day in the world of our little community, Brad. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Weird things happening on Friday the 13th.
It's always exciting.
Yeah.
Let alone on Friday the 13th.
Okay. So our guest this
Okay.
evening, is coming to us from across the border.
Up that way.
Over-
You can point up.
Yeah, over
Straight
up
up.
that way. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think she realizes what she signed up for, really. But
It's okay.
I
You can't back out now.
I
blocked
promise
you.
to make I promise to make the attempt to be on my best behavior.
Did
just
you
this
think you
episode.
promised though?
No, my fingers were crossed, my toes were crossed, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we have the author of, and I don't know if these are the right orders of the books, but I'm going to say in this order anyways. Redeemed from the Ashes, Ghost of My Heart, Wisps of Gold, and Scathed Bones. I don't know which ones I totally butchered a few of those. I know it. She also runs a YouTube channel, Pen to Paper, where she gives writing advice and recently started reviewing books. Everyone, this is Leah Lindeman. Hi, how are you?
Hey Leah, how you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Thanks for joining us. And
Yeah.
all these shenanigans that we have to deal with this guy. See, I can't point
What'd
the right
you-
way
what'd
either.
you-
Let's go over here.
Shenanigans? What'd you say?
Shenanigans.
You did not say
Shenanigans.
You
I
said
did not say
shenanigans.
shenanigans. Okay.
Are you drinking already?
No, I've just got water.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that could be hiding something else.
That's what Jay in his fancy pink cup.
My fancy pink cups. So what's new, everyone? What's going on tonight? What we got happening? What's the dealio?
I've got a question, and I don't even know. Again, I can't pronounce it probably. So you're the queen of what? You're not the queen of Canada, but if the queen of
I know,
Canada is here, we're not trying to
Canadiana?
usurp your throne. I promise. But hello, queen of Canada. Is there really a queen of Canada? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
There
I didn't know
is.
y'all. I didn't know y'all had a queen.
So what is
Queen
yours?
Elizabeth the Second.
Oh,
Oh,
I did not know.
okay.
Yeah.
So what is yours? Canadiana?
Canadiana.
Canadiana.
And what is that? What does that mean?
Me trying to be all fancy, making the ah instead of the a sound. It backfired.
So
Canadiana.
Canadiana or Canadiana.
I was looking. I was like, Diana.
How you say it?
You gotta hold your
Canadiana.
pinky up when you say it, Jay.
Yes.
Diana.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did that come from? What's that all about?
Stop.
Well, it started popping up at a bunch of book signings that I did. And when I was telling people what my books were about, they said, "Oh, it's Canadiana." I said, "Yeah, that's exactly it." And Canadiana basically means anything to do with Canada.
Okay.
So, like bacon, maple syrup, the
The Mounties.
mountains.
all the
Ignorant
cliche
is
stuff.
capital.
I think we're going to talk about bacon a little bit later.
Are
So
we?
that was just like a little teaser.
Hi, Louis.
I do want to throw this out there. I was reading your bio earlier this week on your website. Not only was your appearance on our show not on your website, by the way.
It's in her Twitter feed on there.
Yeah.
It's on her
Okay.
Twitter feed on there.
Okay. I'll give you half credit for that. It says you originally wanted to be a surgeon, but then decided to start right. How do you go from being a surgeon to writing? I mean, what was the process with that? I mean, did you go like the first day of surgeon school? It's like, nope, I'm out. See ya.
Well, I never became a surgeon. Let's just say that. Basically, all throughout high school, that was what I was gunning for. I wanted to go into medicine, and I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon specifically. And I got good grades, did everything I needed to do, and then I don't know. I just had this desire to start a family young, and at the same time that desire was growing was my passion for writing. And that started out with poetry, actually. And I would just go for walks every day, and I would write a poem in my head, and I'd zip over at home, and then I'd write it down fast, and so I wouldn't forget it. And then I started writing that. So, but starting a family young, specifically, I was 16 at the time. That just doesn't happen, that you get married young and you have kids young. Like most people, that doesn't happen to them, right? They get married when they're like in their 20s or maybe even 30s, or they just, find that partner for their life around that time. And then kids maybe come around in their 30s and 40s. So, and then that's soon after I met my husband, and I was 16 when I met him. And we started off as friends. And then about 6 months later, he asked my dad if he could date me. And miraculously, my dad said yes. And then 8 months later, we were engaged, and I was 17. And then I got married at 18.
Quit.
So because that just all kind of lined up together, and my passion for writing was growing, I also was taking a writer's course with the Institute for Children's Literature, which is in Connecticut. And I just kind of went on that path, and I thought, I could definitely have kids, start a family young, and also do writing at home, and really just call the shots from there and line it up the way I need it to line up. I know there are a lot of people who go into medicine and have kids and families, but it's just a conviction of mine to be at home with the kids fully. And yeah, so med school is not completely off the table. I would like to go back, maybe when I'm 40. Like I'd like to actually do it, but
Could be your midlife crisis to go back to medical school.
yeah, that's it.
That'd be a weird midlife crisis, actually. Like most midlife crisis, you're freaking out, you're doing weird things. But I guess spending the money on med school, I guess that would be a weird, midlife crisis. So your writing, your passion for writing, they actually came in your teens, then, late teens. Okay. Where did that come from? I mean, aside from, everything you just told us, was there like a certain book or a certain author where you're like, I could do this?
Well, I was a big reader starting at grade 3. Started off with, Chronicles of Narnia, The Hobbit, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys. Really got into reading at that time. But actual writing, and then, before that, in high school, we started looking at the Victorian novelists and poets, and just something really drew me to the writing of that time period. So like Charles Dickens, Jane Austen, a lot of the classics, and William Wordsworth as a poet. And yeah, and then literally I was on my trampoline one day, and I was staring up at the clouds, and the words just started coming, and I was like, all right, I'm going to write this down. And that's when it started happening. So it's very spontaneous.
So you're talking about you would sort of make a poem up every day and write down. Have you ever published any of your poetry at all?
No. So I published, sample poetry on my blog here and there, but never a collection. Eventually, when I have enough, I'd like to, self-publish for sure, a collection of poetry. But I'm currently working on my Canadian Reminiscence series, so
That's he said it.
Someone said it right.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that takes up the bulk of my efforts in writing.
So I saw on your website you were going to have a book for each, or at least a story for each territory and province in Canada. So how many are you planning to do? Like 10 books?
13.
13 books?
So we have 10 provinces and we have 3 territories.
See, I don't know anything about Canada.
Remember those those two things may pop up later. Just
Okay.
So why the historical fiction? What draws you? I know you said you like Dickens and some of the classical books, but why mix the history and fiction together? Why are you leaning towards that kind of genre?
Well, I've always been a big
because it's cool,
history
Jay.
buff. Yeah, like in school, history.
It's a legit question because
I know. I
love
loved history too. Like that was my favorite subject in school, which I think is what
Yeah.
Leah's going to say.
Exactly, same thing. And I think I had a great teacher too that just didn't spew out, the dates and people and whatever just happened, but they explained the why things happened and kind of gave it that fuller, bigger, richer story that history actually is, and that people don't really get taught at schools most of the time. So, but I didn't really study Canadian history because I actually did an American curriculum. I was homeschooled for high school years. So I did a lot of world history and a lot of American history, which you guys got lots of stuff going on in your history.
Because we're nosy is what it is.
And I'm also old enough to live through a lot of it. So
yeah.
Exactly. But for Canada, I've kind of always seen it as blah. Like there wasn't much from what I knew.
Yeah.
And then
and just for the record, you were saying that, not me. So when our friend Nikki watches this later,
yes.
she cannot say that it's me because she thinks that I make fun of her being Canadian. There's a whole long story there, but just FYI, Leah said it, fun, not though. Jay. Yeah.
That's all it is.
But I used to be of that thinking, and now I'm not, because the more you dig into Canada's history, and a lot of it also corresponds with America's history, so there's a lot going on too. But it's very downplayed, and yeah, it's underplayed quite a bit.
Totally off subject here, just for James in the chat here. Whose drum set is that in the back?
Oh, that's my husband's. I bought it for Christmas.
Okay, just check. I didn't know if you were going to play a little tune for us or not.
You ever get on there and rock out?
Yeah.
No, I probably sound very dumb.
Okay, just making sure. So,
yeah.
Tell us about graduating with honors from the Institute for Children's Literature. What was that about? And by the way, you have a U in honors on your website.
Yes, because
I guess that's one of those differences.
Yeah, so like neighbor, we spell O-U-R.
Favorite,
honor, O-U-R.
Yeah.
Actually, even let's say if you say traveled, we spell it with a double L. You guys spell it with a single L.
Do y'all spell canceled with one L or two?
Two.
Okay, that's what I do because one L just looks weird. I think.
And I think we're the outcast because we read Canadian authors, we read UK authors, and they're spelled the same. I think we're the ones that are spelling things different. Just
the
to
whole
be
world
different.
uses the metric system.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, guys, when you separate from Great Britain. So
we didn't like their tea. We had to throw it away.
Well, I mean, there's some pretty good authors that decided to leave Canada, like Megan Lucas. Sorry, just throw that out there. Okay.
So with you going, what's the school you went to?
Oh yeah, sorry, the Institute of Children's Literature.
Okay.
And that's in Connecticut, so American school. So I took that, and I was doing that course during the last 2 years of high school, and so there would be assignments on, write a certain setting, write a short story with plot, working on plot or focus on dialogue here. And so the last assignment was to write either another nonfiction article, which I had already done, or the first 3 chapters of a book. And about that time, my dad had found out about the Halifax explosion in 1917. He had read about it in a newspaper, which was the Montreal Gazette. And then he started telling us about the story, how there was this huge explosion on the home front during World War I. And it just gripped my attention so much that I was like, how come I've never heard of this before? I did go to public school for elementary, and I had never heard of it. But then again, that was in Quebec, and Quebec tends to focus a lot on Quebec history and not even Canadian history. They're kind of almost separate, or they like to consider themselves separate from Canada. There's a whole political thing going on there.
Yes, Quebec does that, or every place? Is it just Quebec? Is it just Quebec doing that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if every place was like a territorial. They only did their history, so on and so on. But just Quebec has to be different. Okay.
Yeah, like I was talking to a high school teacher, and she said that the paragraph on World War I in their books was this small.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah. It's kind of an important
out of sight, out of mind.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So then my dad told me the story, and then that was just kind of simmering in my head a little bit. And then from there came the story that I wanted to write. So I said, well, this is a perfect opportunity because you have an editor following you throughout the whole course, and they edit your stuff and give you feedback on what needs to be stronger and what are your weaknesses. So I thought, this is the time to do it. And so I wrote the first 3 chapters. And one thing that I've kind of always struggled with and have to really catch is writing in passive voice. I tend to write in passive voice quite a bit. So she did point that out, but she said, it's a solid start. Just go with it. You should finish it. And then I kind of took a step back because I had my first child. And so being a first-time mom, that was new. And then I took some time off to do a little bit more research. And then I just dove back into it. And that book took about 6 years with all the, first draft, edits, rewrites, all that.
So how many times did it change over the 6 years?
Probably about 10 different versions of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's redeemed from the ashes, correct?
That's redeemed from the ashes. And then I took a whole year off to kind of look at self-publishing and traditional publishing, marketing, just kind of learning all about that because I didn't know what I was doing. So
Speaking of which, so are all of yours self-published then, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something you actually like doing and stuff? Well, I mean, are you trying to get like a major publisher to pick you up, or do you like the self-publish, doing it yourself, doing all the groundwork, more freedom that way?
Yeah, I do prefer the freedom. I like the creative control. And when I was, thinking, should I be doing traditional publishing or self-publishing? I was looking at the pros and cons. And the big thing for me was the creative control and also outputting it whenever you want on your terms and on your timeline. It just takes so long in the traditional publishing world to get your book actually out on shelves when you go through all the process, right? So at that time, I think it was 2016, and the 100th anniversary of the explosion was 2017. So I was like, you know what? I need to put this out now. This is the golden time to do it. And that's when I did it. But then after that book, I just enjoyed the process so much. And so I decided to just do that for all of them. But if ever there comes a point where a traditional publisher wants to pick me up, then I wouldn't mind negotiating or talking about it. But
well, here you go. Go ahead and sell yourself. Give us a spiel in case they're watching. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Put her on the spot, Jay.
Yeah. Sell yourself. Do the pitch. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, anyways, but it's not something I'm actively.
She totally blew me off. Okay.
It's okay. Well, I mean, it's golden in the sense that there.
I'm totally messing with you. You don't have. I'm just totally kidding with you.
No, but seriously, in the sense that there isn't a series out there that highlights each province, Canadian province, in a way that has different subgenres throughout all the books and their standalone novels for adults. There's nothing out there. So, I mean, already there, you get a unique feature in that sense.
Is there a lot of Canadian historical fiction books out there?
There's a market, yeah. I mean, you have, yeah, for sure. There's probably more. I find historical fiction books right now tend to be about World War II.
Yeah,
that's the going time period, which funny enough, my next standalone novel is World War II. But
I love World War II. That's probably one of my favorite historical periods to learn about.
One of your favorite wars?
Yeah, it's my favorite war.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I mean.
War.
It's the way you stated it. Yeah.
It's just such an interesting time period.
Yeah, and you guys are big horror readers, and you could really do a great piece, a horror piece actually, with World War II, just from, or darker fiction anyways.
With Redeemed from the Ashes, you said that takes place in 1917. Does that have anything to do with World War I at all, or is that just sort of in the background?
It's more on the home front and what life during wartime was like for those people. But I mean, living through that explosion, because that explosion completely leveled Halifax. So it was very big. And then, you know, how do you reconstruct your life? How does a city rebuild itself after such a tragedy? That's what that book focuses on.
Now, since it's a series, are any of them connected at all, or are they all sort of standalones with maybe like Easter eggs here and there?
Yeah, so I have the 2 standalones, Redeemed from the Ashes, and then I do a sequel ebook. I do a sequel ebook for every standalone novel. So the sequel to Redeemed from the Ashes is Ghost of My Heart. Oh, okay, so there is World War II horror novels out there. I should take a look. And then the sequel to Wisps of Gold is Scathed Bones.
Did you hear that, Jay? Scathed Bones.
I had them in order too, right?
Yeah. Kind of. Ghost of My Heart goes after Redeemed from the Ashes, and then
didn't I say that?
No,
I think she's looking at the scroll at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't do the scroll. That's all.
That's my fault.
That guy.
Oh, okay.
So is that your plan going forward? Is to write the like sequel novella to each main story?
Yeah, because I'm really in love with the idea of open endings, somewhat. Not too much, because I know that can really frustrate a reader if you just leave it totally open-ended and then they have to wait, a year or 2 years, depends how often you output a book to get the finality of the story, right? So I leave it just a little bit, but also just enough that hopefully they're not too angry with me.
Pitchforks and torches and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't wait too long, because when you finally actually do it again, I mean, they might just still be mad at you, not even bother, you know.
Exactly.
5 years later, continuation. Yeah. So I actually found some of your videos online promoting the books.
She's got some book trailers.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because I mean that's something you don't see very often. But I mean that's something that I guess we don't see very often for self-publishers, because that's money right there. Like, whose idea was to come up with the whole trailers for books? Right. I mean,
she's the boss.
Tell me about the help you had. Tell me who chipped in. Did you just recruit family members? Did you do a GoFundMe to pay the people in the trailers?
Is it stock footage, or did you actually film stuff?
I went super cheap, or as cheap as I could, right? So as you probably noticed, for Wisps of Gold, the girl on the cover, she's the same girl in the trailer. So I paid her for both the cover and the trailer. And I'm the one basically that came up with the clips and what order they were going to come in, and the parts of the story that I wanted to show, and also the copy on the clips. I also came up with that, and then I'm the one who actually shot the video. So I am not a videographer, but it's something I really enjoy doing, and hopefully I have enough of an eye that it's, tantalizing to people who watch the trailer to be like, oh, I want to buy that book, or that book sounds really interesting.
So now you can add director and video editor to your credentials, your resume. You can add that.
Yeah, that's right.
So where do they air? Just online, or did you buy time for local TV stations, or what?
No, just online for now. Okay. But that's a good idea. I should definitely. I'm definitely, as I've grown as a writer and done this more years, different marketing techniques I'm kind of, hoarding. And hopefully with my next book, I have some more ideas on how I could really disseminate the word about it. And maybe get some airtime. So those are things I'm really excited to try out and see if they work.
Do you feel like the trailers were a good investment as far as getting the word out there and promoting, and then the payoff for it? Did you see a payoff with book 2 doing the trailer?
Yeah, for sure. And people enjoy, I think, a visual, for what they're reading. Because it's funny, most book trailers I see, they just kind of have the words. So the synopsis, but really cut down, and it's like only a minute. And I was like, no, when I write my books, I actually see them happening in my mind like a movie. So I want to make my book trailers like a movie, because actually that's the ultimate goal too, or that's a big dream of mine, is that they would be eventually picked up for big picture, whether a TV show or, movie. So that would be amazing.
Do they have conventions like they do here in the States for there in Canada to go to with your book with other authors around big conventions? Tell us about. Do you do a lot of those throughout Canada? Tell us about those.
Yeah, I did do that for my first book. I was going to do it for Wisps of Gold, but the year that it came out, a good friend of mine was getting married right on the same weekend that convention was happening in Vancouver. So I was like, well, I can't go this year. I'll go next year. And that's when COVID happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So that didn't work out. Hopefully,
you should have just told your friend to postpone her wedding. Like, look, I've got some important stuff to do here.
I know.
Your wedding can come next weekend.
But seriously, that wedding was epic. It was an Indian wedding, like traditional.
Oh yeah, they're wild. Like they're all, I've been to one. They're great.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I don't regret my decision.
I'm sure your friend appreciates that.
Yeah. And there's always like whenever COVID's done, hopefully soon, maybe next year, that I could definitely go and do that. But I did do it for my first book. And that was in Halifax. It's called, see, I'm forgetting. It's Jay. It's not just your name.
In Halifax. That's cool. You did it in Halifax, and the book is about Halifax. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So they had the whole convention. Oh, it's called Word on the Street. Okay, so it's Canada's largest book and magazine festival, and they have it in 3 different cities. So they have it in Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax. So for the Halifax one, I went to Halifax, and that was the highlight of my book tour there, because exactly that, you have like a 15, 20-minute segment where you have a room full of people, and within the hour, there's 3 or 4 different authors who are talking about their books. And then once you're done that, they give you a table downstairs, and there's hundreds of people there wanting to just, looking around and buying your book. So that's definitely where I made the most sales on my book tour, was that book festival.
So you're in with authors with a lot of different genres. It's not just.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of put you in similar genres, but it's a whole weekend thing that, different people can go see the genres that they want.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Speaking of genres, how did you get roped into sort of edging into this horror community? Because I know you don't write horror.
Yeah,
Do you read horror or watch horror at all?
So I've actually been thinking more and more about this question, because I'm like, why am I in this community?
Why am I even here?
Because I think the first time I even heard of you, you were talking to Robert O'Tone on an Instagram interview.
Exactly.
That's when I first met you. Yes.
Yeah.
That was last year sometime.
Yeah, that was in December. So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit to when I was younger. I saw Jaws when I was like 8 at a friend's place. I don't even think my parents knew, or maybe they did. But I didn't think they would like approve. And then I saw like Anaconda, and then kind of like those old school horror movies. And then, I'd go to the school library, and I would see those, like young kids horror series where it's, I forget what it's called, but it's the ones where like the kids change into animals.
Animorphs.
Oh, okay, there you go. And I was always
like,
I had all those books when I was a kid, man.
There you go. Do you still read like those kind of that age range?
No, I don't read middle grade anymore, but I have all of those in a big box over here in my office. So when my kids get old enough, they'll be able to read them.
I missed all that. I missed Goosebumps and all that stuff because
I've got
older.
Goosebumps and Animorphs and
that was like
Boxcar Kids or whatever they're called, all that kind of stuff.
I was too old when that stuff came out. I'm jealous. But anyways, go back to your story.
Charles
So,
Dickens
yeah,
was writing stories when Jay was little.
Yeah, it's okay. I'd love to hear your stories too. So there was also Goosebumps, and I'd see them, and I was always kind of drawn to them, but I never took them out because I would think my parents are not going to be happy that I'm bringing this home. Like they just probably wouldn't approve. So I just never really touched it. And then, but then I've always been intrigued with like paranormal stories, like ghost stories. That's always caught my attention. And yeah, so fast forward now to Robert. I met him because we were both part of a writer to writer interview. So he had to interview me and I had to interview him. But the guy who set it all up, he said, do you want to be with someone that's kind of like with your genre, or is it okay if it's a different genre? And I am super adventurous. I always like to surprise myself. So I said,
I'm not doing
be with anybody. Doesn't matter what the genre is. Well, sure enough, I got Robert O'Tone, and he writes horror. And I was like, okay. And I had already read Dracula. Okay, so traditional horror. It's not really.
I've actually never read it. I've never read Dracula.
I have like 2 copies and I've not read it yet. So
okay, it's not super scary. I thought, but for that time, it would have been shocking.
Right.
So
Like, I have a thing
very
with
gothic and
some of the classics that I'm just really not into. I mean, I've tried, but I get bored easily. So
okay.
you have to, like Leah said, the time period it was wrote in, you sort of have to look at it from that perspective. Like that's just probably like Frankenstein was probably super shocking when that came out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a very mood reader, so I have to be in that mindset to really enjoy it. So.
Oh, you're so sweet, Lana. Thank you.
Your checks in the mail.
So, but yeah, I understand why classics don't fit your, like, they're not a good fit for you, Jay, because classics.
And I try not just horror, but I try all class. I tried Hemingway. I've tried like stuff from the 60s and 70s and 80s. Some of it I do like, the grittier stuff. But then some that are like in the top 100 greatest books of all time, I'm like, I fall asleep reading them.
It's just because it's past your bedtime is why you fall asleep.
That is true too. Yeah.
That, but also like, if you take a look at the classics, the description is a whole lot more involved. Just the way that writing was done back then is so different from today. Today we need, fast, grab my attention right away. Whereas back then that was just not the writing style. So
well, there's a lot of novellas today. Short, sweet, to the point. People's attention spans aren't as, I guess, long as they used
novellas work in the horror. I think who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Laura Hightower about this with Nikki on that her show. I think novellas work in the horror community because if you think
it's like an hour and a half movie.
Yeah, if you think of like an hour and a half horror movie, that's what most horror movies are. That's what a novella is, hour and a half. So
yeah, and I'm not knocking novellas. I love novellas, but it's sort of the day and age we live in now. Everybody has shorter attention spans, like flipping screens and all that kind of stuff. So a novella is perfect for that.
Yeah, it's true. And even when I write, I actually try to pay attention to the length of my paragraphs, because even the length of your paragraphs, if it's too long, then people are going to zone out, and that's just the way it is. So
I'm bad about like longer chapters. Like if a chapter's been for a while, I'll like flip ahead. It's like, oh, when's the chapter break?
Yeah, see how long it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I forgot what we were talking about now. We totally got sidetracked.
I know. That's on me. So Robert, we did that writer-author interview, and I don't know, we just clicked really well, and we're like, hey, let's, he said, why don't I send you my 2 books, and you send me your 2 books, and we'll read them, and then we'll review them. And I said, sure. Like, this is my first, horror book that I've ever read. And I really enjoyed his work. Like it surprised me.
Which one did you read? My Infernal Name, is that the one you read?
I read People first, which I found actually wasn't too scary, but it dealt with more like dark fiction.
Right.
And it's very emotional too. So I think that was just the perfect book to ease me into his other one, which was Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. Yeah. So that one definitely had a bit more grit to it. So I'm glad I read it in that order. But I really enjoyed them both. And then that's when we decided, oh, let's do an Instagram live and we'll do a giveaway. And then Jay here won my book. And he finally got to it 6 months later.
My gosh. Like I kept saying it was on my TBR list 6 or 7 times during that time. I knew she was probably getting pissed every time. Read the damn book.
No, I mean, hey, we all live very busy lives. You guys, now I understand as a booktuber, when I hear everybody else's recommendations, my TBR list is like forever long.
It just never ends.
It's never going to end.
Mine's a lifetime. It's never going to end.
Exactly. I totally get that. So, I'm just honored that you stuck my book in there and, stuck with it.
So have you branched out from Robert's work and gone into any other indie horror at all, or has it just been that so far?
No, definitely. So, when was it? Yeah, the July readathon, the indie readathon. I read The Goners by Lewis.
Oh, yes, he was here
right?
earlier.
Yeah,
he's actually over watching Nikki now. I'm looking at it. Yeah.
So you are here, and you're not here.
Yeah, I'm spying. Yeah, because I knew he was going to do that. I'm going to get on for that.
Yes, I would retire at 40, but then again, my dream of medicine would be gone.
You retire from everything you're doing now and then switch to medicine at 40.
There you go. Yeah. But no, I love writing so much. I think I have enough material to write until I die. So
nice. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I read The Goners, and then I read Smolder by Michael Goodwin. And then I read, Patience of a Dead Man, which
nice, Michael Clark.
I love that.
And you read Scratches, I know.
That's a great haunted
house
house story.
And then I read Scratches by Joshua Marcella.
Didn't we have a deal where I'm supposed to pick your books for you? Right? Did we come up with...
yeah, in October.
I haven't done that yet.
Halloween month.
Okay, so Halloween month, I'm picking.
Okay. You did tell me to read The Goners, and I did.
Yeah. Like I forgot what the guidelines were. I forgot what we agreed on. So you let me know.
So I said all of October you get like all my picks.
Well, I guess I got to figure out what I'm going to read.
Y'all could just buddy read the whole month. Buddy read
There
buddy read everything.
And then
I got to find her something totally off the wall, totally weird, like something bizarre, just to freak her out. Just.
And then once every 2 months you get to pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need this in writing.
You are. I'm your pupil, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Teach me.
So has reading all this horror now, has that influenced you at all, making you maybe want to write your own horror story at all?
Yeah, weirdly enough.
So I'm talking about Supernatural earlier. Supernatural and historical fiction go really well together.
Yeah, they do. Well, I've actually had a dream recently that was so vivid that could be a short story. So I'm just shelving that away for now. I have no clue what it's about, but but actually I was thinking, I have ideas simmering for all the different provinces. And what I want to do with this series, the Canadian Reminiscence series, is kind of delve into different subgenres for each book. So the first one was definitely like drama. So, Brad, that's right up your alley. You like romance, right?
I love romance. It's my favorite thing.
There you go. So that one's for you.
People don't realize he's got another channel just devoted to romance.
It's all romance.
A secret channel?
It is. I wear a mask and everything so people can't see me.
All about romance.
Jay's out me right now.
Romance and bromance. That's what it's all about.
I don't mind if there's romance involved in the storyline. I just don't want the whole thing to be about romance because that I just don't care about.
Yeah. No, totally.
And space erotica.
Space erotica is my second favorite subgenre.
I'm not into erotica either. So there will be no subgenre of erotica, just to let you know. Let me make that clear. And then this one, Wisps of Gold, is murder mystery. So kind of going more into that subgenre. And then Scathed Bones went a little darker, even according to Robert Atone. So I was like, cool. But
the cover for that one looks like a horror cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's dealing with a serial killer. It's a legendary.
The name could pass for a horror name also.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I'm definitely thinking about Saskatchewan's subgenre, and I definitely think that could be some great material for a subgenre of either darker fiction dipping into horror.
Yeah.
With the story that's starting to form in my head for that one. So
I think horror fans are automatically dark fiction fans too, because it's just two genres kind of blend together. I mean, we could say we like horror, but if you look at our, to be read list in our past videos, probably half of them are probably actually dark fiction.
Exactly.
They teeter in that line. So I usually group them together myself.
Mm-hmm. So it's good that I'm reading all this horror because I'm soaking it up, and that way when I'm ready to write it, then hopefully I dip enough into that genre to say that's the subgenre is horror or darker fiction. So
see, people judge it until they get into it and start reading it. You read what? You read horror, dark fiction? Why? And then they get into it. They really like it. It's a little different. You see things differently. So when help spread the word.
There you go. When I tell people, oh yeah, I've been reading some horror recently, and they kind of look at me like, really?
Yeah, they give you the side eye.
It does not go with who I am, like personality wise.
Yeah, family function. That's the one that reads,
because there could be ghosts and monsters and stuff in it, but a lot of it's the real life human horror that you don't want to experience yourself, but you get to live vicariously through these books and experience that real trauma stuff that you don't want to have happen.
And there's like 1,000 genres under that horror umbrella.
Oh yeah.
So we can spend 2 days just talking about that.
Exactly. Well, when I read The Goners, and there was that piece where he details what the serial killer is thinking and how he's hunting him down, and I was like, I could feel the chills. Like I felt like I was the one that was hunted down. Yeah. And that's like real stuff. People go through that, right? So it's
So with you having these 13 books for your series, do you have an idea for what you want each one to be, or do you sort of write one and then think about what you want the next one to be?
So really the spark, you would say, is the historical event itself, because it's historical fiction, right? So I always want to highlight an event that maybe hasn't been written about a lot before, or if it has, bring a unique angle to it. So for Saskatchewan, I'm actually thinking of the Red River War. That's the one. So that would be like the skirmishes between the Indians and, the settlers coming in and all that. I don't even know too much of it myself, but I've just kind of briefly looked at it, and I was like, yeah, I think that's the event that I'm centering my story on. But then once I've chosen that, then the characters kind of start to kind of creep in and speak to me, as it were, and the story starts to develop.
Nice. So do you have all the historical events mapped out already, what you want to pick from?
No. No. And people keep asking me, when are you going to write about Quebec? Because I was born in Montreal, raised in Montreal. I only moved into Ontario when I married my husband, so that's like 11 years ago. And I'm like, I just don't know yet. Like, I haven't found probably the French and Indian War or the American War for Independence, somewhere around that timeline. But I just don't know for sure yet.
So it's almost like you have to pull double duty. You're not only writing the book, but doing historical fiction. You have to go back and do some research, some studying up, and find everything to be accurate. Where, I mean, I can sit down and write a story. That's not historical fiction.
Can you?
And I'm done.
Can you, Jay? Can you really write a story?
I have 3, okay? But I mean, no, it's double duty. So I mean, I can see it taking longer with the whole historical fiction, because you got to do your research and you got to double check your facts and all that stuff, because there's going to be that one person out there. No, this is totally wrong.
Yeah.
The time period's wrong. They would not have said that. They would not have driven that kind of car, or whatever the case may be.
They wouldn't have worn that.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. But because I love history, it's not too much of a chore for me. Like, I'm learning about my country, and I'm making the history interesting by putting a story to it that hopefully people will be drawn to. So it's double duty, but for me, it's not about, putting out a book every year or every 2 years. It's just taking that time that I need. And plus I have 6 kids too. So that takes up a lot of time. And then I have a whole other load of responsibilities that I have a life, it's very, very full. So I just take the time I need to research, to do it well, and then write and let the story come as it comes.
How old is your oldest kid?
She's 10, just turned 10 this year.
Is she interested in writing?
Not that I can tell. She likes to tell stories, but that's it. Like, none of them are really interested in writing at this point.
Any other writers in your family?
No.
Okay.
I am, So when I started writing poetry, and I was like, I told my parents, I want to quit piano and I want to, learn how to write. You're like, really? Okay, where is this coming from? There's just nobody in the family.
So I was
like
looking at the clouds one day, guys, and it just
that's
came to
it.
me.
It just comes.
Yeah.
So with you having 6 kids and you went to the Children's Institute, have you ever wanted to write a kid's story, like for your kids or anything?
No.
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 She's like, no.
Those sell. Those sell like crazy.
I know, but I just don't have any inspiration for it. And I really appreciate a good children's book, but like I've dabbled with the idea maybe within the last year, but I'm like, no, the Canadian Reminiscence series is what this is where my heart is right now.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have a lot of time to expend, and this is where all my energy is, and that's it. Even short stories, I don't really write them. I just don't have, or I won't make the time to write them. And then poetry, I only write a poem when I go for a walk outside, and that's rare that I can do that by myself. So yeah.
So with you being so busy, do you get to write every day? Like, do you have a set schedule where you write from 12 to 2 or something like that? Or is it just when you get a chance to, you write?
I really try.
Kid, Brad.
I've got 3 kids too.
Yeah.
Not 6, but I got 3.
And you make time for what you do, right? So it's all about.
I only have 2, and I can't get my short story collection done, Brad. She's got 6. She's not writing every day, Brad.
She might. She might wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and say,
Oh, goodness, no.
story.
No,
3:30 and 4. That's a good challenge.
I am not a morning person at all.
No.
No, not at all. I'm a night owl. So, I try to write every day. But this year has been a little bit more difficult to manage because, I just had my 6th baby. And then now I'm starting with this YouTube and BookTube stuff. So
let's get into that here.
Okay.
Where did this come from? Just pen to paper, all of your advice. Why are you giving your advice away for free?
You got to charge for that, Leah. You got to charge for it.
Write a book with your advice. That sells too.
It's true. And I've been thinking the idea for, monetizing my advice or just giving my advice kind of has been going on for the last 2 years. And I started thinking maybe about like online courses, because I know those, if you do it well, are great big ticket items. But it would require a lot of front work on my end and a lot of time to put into that. And just right now with my writing, I don't want to give that time. So then I am kind of offering my services as a writer's coach right now. That hasn't really picked up too much, but that's okay. It's kind of like an extra. If that happens, that happens. But for YouTube, I've been thinking about this for like the last year. And I did put a few videos out last year, but it was not like every week. It was like, I don't know, once a month, once every 2 months. I just wasn't making the time for it. And then I came across another AuthorTube channel, which is Meglator, and she's got a pretty big following. And she actually writes like sci-fi fantasy genre. And I just listened to a video, and she was saying, you have to output a video once a week for the algorithm to really catch you and start putting your stuff out there. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, this is the jump. And at first I was like, no one's going to want to listen to me. It's a stupid idea. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Do any of us know what we're talking about?
Really.
But that's the thing. There's always someone who knows more than you, right? You're an expert to the person who's starting out, and then there's experts above you. So I
And
had
there's
to
no
change my
there's no
thinking.
reason to fight that algorithm either. That's just
Yeah, exactly. So it's just I had to change my thinking and just have enough self-confidence to be like, nope, I'm starting this and it's going to be once a week. At first, I was thinking, oh, I'll do like every 2 weeks, but then I settled with no, it's got to be once a week. And I've been doing well so far, except for when I had my baby. It took 3 weeks off because actually,
Only three?
Shame on you, Leah. Shame on you.
I know. Actually, I cut off social media for 3 weeks. It was so nice.
I bet it was nice.
Yeah, it was. It was a great break. And but yeah, so now I'm having so much fun though. And then you guys, you and Nikki and so many other booktubers, you know.
Well, I mean, that was my next part. I mean, you strayed away a little bit. I mean, you're still doing the advice, but now you're moving into review.
TBRs and
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys have
Peer pressure.
inspired me so much. I love this community. Like you were already so supportive when I was doing my author tube, but now with the book tube, it just kind of bridged an extra connection. So I don't know. I always tell people I was a reader before I was a writer. So it's kind of getting back to my roots. And 2 years ago, I just barely managed to read 20 books in a year. And then I read a book. It's actually High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. He's a life coach. And he basically explains like how he reads, I don't know, whatever amount of books he reads, but he takes a book and he reads a book once a week and divides it by 7, right? The number of pages. And then when he wrote that, I was like, of course, duh. Like that makes so much sense. And he just said, you know, I just make sure I have that time to read. And I was like, well, I can do that. That's easy.
But that only works on paper, literally.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, that's
Well,
in a perfect
sometimes
world
you
that
get
would
it.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just make that time now to read. So last year was 40 books, and this year I've challenged myself to read 50 books, and I've already exceeded the challenge because of the 2 readathons that I did in June and July. I'm totally like readathoned out though. I can't do anymore.
See,
you're right past me. I'm only got like 46 or something books done for the year.
Yeah, so
Okay.
on Goodreads, I put my challenge number low, so I pass it quick. I think I put it down like I think I put
2
20
books.
No, I put 25. I'm at 47. Thank you.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
I read 100 books even last year. I'm not going to get there this year, but if I can get my goal was 50. So if I can get 50, I'll be fine.
Wow. Yeah. So I put mine at 50 because, you know, there's 52 weeks. So that gives you like 2 weeks extra buffer.
I was so excited when I hit 52 last year. I was like, I read a book a week. That's exciting. Because like a couple years ago, I was reading like 0 books the whole year. I didn't read at all.
Wow.
Like 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't read anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what got you into reading then? Like, what was that spark?
Like I read a lot when I was a kid in like elementary school and stuff. And then like in middle school, you start having assigned reading, and I just did not care. Didn't want to read anything they gave me. It ruined it for me.
Yeah.
And then when the Game of Thrones TV show came out, I was really into that. And then I discovered they were books. I was like, okay, I want to know more about it. And so I started off with 1,000-page books is what got me back into reading.
Whoa, that's brutal. Well, okay, how
It
were
is.
the books compared to the show? Because I love the show.
Better.
Okay. So I'll
There's-
have to look into those.
A few scenes are better in the show, but overall the books are better. There's a lot more stuff going on in the books.
Okay.
I highly suggest you check out the books. They're great. Jay hates fantasy with a passion.
I could watch fantasy. I just
Did you try reading those books, Jay?
No,
Okay.
no, I didn't.
Hard pass.
But I can watch fantasy, I can watch sci-fi, but I have no desire to read any of that stuff.
I've always loved fantasy, and I just happened to pick those up because I love the show so much, and that got me. And then I'd never read Stephen King before, and then I started doing Stephen King.
Yeah.
Sam
See,
Plotman.
some of his is fantasy, and I'm
Yeah.
going to try to make my way through all of his stuff, and I'll push through for those. But
Okay.
yeah,
And I did not know indie horror existed, and it's Nikki's fault. She introduced me to indie horror with Cameron Chaney and Cameron Robique, and then here I am now. It's all her fault. I fell down the rabbit hole.
Well, as you said, there's a lot of subgenres to get lost in, right? So
There is, yeah.
yeah.
And there's a whole other world of horror outside Stephen King and Dean Koontz and Anne Rice that I didn't even know existed.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I also read Salt Blood in July.
Salt Blood's good.
Right.
T.C.
There you
Parker's
go.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
So I want to talk about your channel. Where do you come up with all your ideas for your like advice things? Like you just recently did like having a mentor and getting your books into a library. Where do you come up with all your ideas for what advice you want to give? Are they just things you've done yourself and you want to sort of spread the knowledge, or?
Yeah, so that was kind of one thing when I started the channel. I was like, how am I going to come up with all the content? It just seemed like really, I don't know, just
Overwhelming, doesn't it?
You know what? I'm going to do this. I can do this. And yeah. And so the first series I did was traditional publishing versus self-publishing, which I knew a lot about because, well, gone through it, having done that research for, that year and a half. So I thought, that's something that first-time authors really struggle with, and they maybe don't have like a full comprehensive look of what that looks like. Right. So that was my first series. And then getting the books into the libraries, it was so nice. Someone actually asked me the questions. So I was like, yay, it's my first question. I felt so honored. So I was like, yes, I can do this. And then the other ones, sometimes I'll have the idea the week before, and then sometimes it's literally the day of. And that's kind of scary for me. But I shoot my videos on Mondays, and then I try to upload them by Wednesdays or Thursdays. And but now that
I film my videos in the morning and try to upload them by 4:30 that day.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I need lots of extra buffer time, with the 6 kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And then, but now that I'm in BookTube, it's kind of nice because there's not as much pressure, I find, to do advice or to find those nuggets that I know are floating around up in here somewhere. And I know the questions that people have, but and it's just, I think it's really neat to do a dual YouTube channel where it's AuthorTube and BookTube, and hopefully people enjoy that aspect to it.
So you kind of sprinkle in the advice now between your wrap-ups and your reviews and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I try to do the first week as like the wrap-up from the month previous, and then my TBR for that month, and then the next week will be in AuthorTube. So that was the mentor one that just came out. And then I love book tags so much. They're so much fun. Like I love.
They're easy. It's easy content to do.
Exactly. So then that would be like my middle week, and then the week after that is another AuthorTube. And I told myself I might add in like writing vlogs and reading vlogs too. So I've already done a writer's vlog, but I don't do those as often. So
you YouTubers and your schedules.
Don't you have a schedule, Jay?
I don't have. No, I do not.
Really?
I barely do tags. When I do it, I mean, they're few and far between. Okay. I really need to do more. Like, I'm not consistent with my wrap ups at all. Like, I'll do a wrap up like on a Thursday. People are like, "What are you doing?" And then whenever I finish a book and actually find time to come down here in the dungeon in between working. And record it, and then of course I take forever to edit it because it's got to be
perfect,
special. Your
editing skills are top notch.
If I have nothing else to go with,
blow his head up.
I have nothing else to contribute, so I have to edit them good. I have nothing else. Nobody's going to tune in for anything else besides that.
Well, I don't know. I thought they were actually scheduled because you come out with content so often. So it's
if you look at my dates when they're published, there's no way to figure out a schedule.
I try to stick to a schedule, but I fail all the time.
You have your weekly wrap up every week. I think mine's
that's like the only one I've done for like a month.
I think there's only 1 week when you didn't have a wrap up, and that was
I didn't do it like week before last, because I just didn't have the time.
I'll do it 2 weeks in a row and feel special, and not do it again for 3 months. And then, like I did a monthly wrap up, and that's the first monthly wrap up I did in 6 months, probably.
Oh,
just because I didn't finish. Just because I didn't finish a book and I needed content. That's the only reason I remember to do it. So, yeah.
So, have you enjoyed doing YouTube stuff so far?
Definitely, and I just feel I love you guys so much. You're the whole community. You guys are awesome.
You're not going to love us after it's a game we're about to play with you.
Why not?
We're doing a reading. You want to do? Are we doing a contest? What are we doing?
We're going to do
Brad?
an announcement for a contest coming later this week. Starting
Okay.
tomorrow, the contest, but
Yeah.
there's a special thing for tonight. So do you want to play a game first, Leah, or do you want to do a reading? It's up to you.
Let's play a game. I'm
Play a
ready.
game.
Bring it on.
Let me find the questions real quick because I'm real prepared. So the game is. I hope it's not offensive. So the game is.
It's very hard to offend me, just to let you know.
It's called
I could.
And
We're gonna
no,
play
Jay,
O Canadian.
I've dealt with all your banter so far.
You
know,
think so? You
Yes.
think so? I am behaving.
Okay, no, seriously. Okay, just a quick personal tidbit. I grew up with a certain someone who you guys could be twins. Like in your sarcasm and your humor and poking fun at people. I've had my training already. Like I can deal with anybody just because of
She's got her battle armor on, Jay. She's
I
ready
do.
for you.
Like you.
I don't do any of that.
Oh, sure.
I'm a very kind-hearted, loving soul.
You are. But you also got lots
Kind-hearted,
of
loving
sarcasm.
soul. You forgot your air quotes there, Jay.
I know.
You
You
didn't
got
do it
the
right.
horns and the halo.
One on each shoulder. So we're gonna play a game. It's called O Canadian Trivia Challenge.
That was fancy.
It was.
That was
I'm
horrible.
scared.
Am I going against her? What are we doing? Am I going up against her on this, or?
You want to go up against her? We'll see who
I
gets
mean, we'll let her answer. If she doesn't know it, then maybe I'll know it.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Since you poke so much fun at us Canadians.
And I don't know. I don't know any of these.
Okay.
This is all Brad. I don't know any of these questions,
So there's 13 questions,
but I'm a very smart person.
and they're super serious. Yeah, Jay, he majored in Canadian studies at Ohio State University.
Oh,
Right.
geez.
Which university did you go to?
He went to Ohio State and
I
studied
did not.
Canada.
I went to a little college called Otterbein here, close
Called
to
what?
where Otterbein.
Otter, like the animal otter.
Yeah, Otterbein. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a small,
okay.
small little,
Is that a
small little
made-up college, Jay?
It's a real college. It's a liberal arts college.
All right.
All
So we got
right.
13 questions.
Okay.
So first
Perfect.
up,
For the 13
what is the-
provinces.
yeah, that's right. Now, what is the total number of time zones in Canada?
All right, hold on. Hold
We need
on.
some Jeopardy TikTok music.
Wait, is this timed? Okay.
No, it's not time.
It's not.
You just can't take 5 minutes per
5.
question. Ooh, not quite. You're close. Jay, do you know?
Can I answer? I'm going to go with 6.
6 is the correct answer.
Ah!
How many we have? We have 4, I think. Well, no, because Alaska and Hawaii.
I don't know about Alaska or Hawaii.
So we
but
probably have
No,
7.
that's American.
well, no, I know, but we have 4 I know of that count. I don't count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continental, we have 4.
Okay.
Question number 2: which hockey team did Wayne Gretzky play for?
Okay. That's the thing, guys. I don't know anything about hockey.
He played for the Baltimore Orioles. No.
No. Wayne Gretzky.
Greatest hockey player of all time. He's the GOAT.
The Canadiens. Montreal
The what?
Canadiens.
The who? The what?
The Montreal Canadiens.
I don't know anything about hockey either,
it?
honestly. No, I know he played for the Edmonton Oilers.
That's correct.
Ah! So,
Jason.
I know nothing. I know nothing about hockey.
but you know that.
Well, because it's Wayne Gretzky. I mean, I know some sports stuff.
Okay.
Question 3: the name Canada comes from the Iroquois language, which means what?
I know it's Canada. That's the original word.
Really?
What does it mean in Iroquois?
You mean Iroquois?
Iroquois. Yes, that's what I meant.
Wow, she's correct at your question that she still doesn't know the answer.
Doesn't it mean? Hold on. I should know this from Quebec history because they talked about it.
All your Canadian history.
This won't be in your historical fiction.
Yeah, don't read my books because obviously I don't know anything.
She just makes up facts for her books.
Okay, Canada, doesn't it mean homeland or something like that?
No. Close, kind of close, but
Okay, kind of close.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say village of settlements.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Is that right?
You're killing this, Jay. Jay, you know the answers already.
I don't know the answers. I do not know the answers.
I don't trust
Okay.
that face.
that face.
Wow. I'm shutting
Jay
this
just has
down
a-
now.
Jay just has a horrible lying face. You're probably going to correct me on my pronunciation for this one. Number 4. What is a loony? Loonie.
Yeah, you got that correct. And of
The
course,
politically incorrect cartoons. Oh, that's Looney Tunes. Okay. never
yeah. $1 coin.
Nice.
I
Are they
have to
gold?
know
Are they
that.
golden?
Yes, in color.
You probably can't
Not
tell.
actual gold.
Got like a Sacagawea coin. It's gold.
Ooh.
So number 5. Jay, you missed out on that one. She got that one right.
mind. Okay. I don't
Number
have to
5.
correct
How
her.
many corner/points does the maple leaf have on the Canadian flag? I'll play the video again. You could count them real quick.
Do it. See,
9.
$11.
11.
There's like
I
3, 6, 9, and then the 2 on the sides.
Exactly. And I love my flag so much. There's something really wrong with me here.
All right. Number 6. Name the Canadian Prime Minister who won the Nobel Peace Prize.
I know this one.
Well, I do not know this one.
Who is it, Jay?
Really?
Wait,
Lester-
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
Let her try. Let her try.
I'm gonna try. Wait, can I have a hint? Is
His
it like one of the
name
earlier
is-
ones or the recent ones?
Yeah, it would.
His first name rhymes with Chester.
Okay, I don't know.
Lester B. Pearson. Don't you know your Nobel Peace Prize winners?
No, I don't.
Gosh. I should be writing these historical
I know, totally. Like,
nonfiction.
Why don't you take over the series?
Nonfiction.
So this is another sports one that you might not know the answer to. He shoots, he
my God.
scores is a famous sports phrase of who?
The Rocket. No. The Rocket Mohis Hisha.
What are you saying?
Mohis Hisha. No.
He shoots, he scores.
No. Okay.
I mean, it originated
Or
with hockey.
Morris Richards in English. Sorry, I'm saying it in French.
It was a Canadian sports announcer. He shoots, he scores.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what the sports.
Yeah, but it's hockey. Canada is hockey.
Not everyone in Canada likes hockey, Jay.
I don't even watch hockey. except
I
for,
don't
like, the
either,
10
but I know
second
this.
clips. I know what you're talking about. I just don't know who the sports announcer is.
Foster Hewitt. Psh. Foster.
She's right.
Holy
Hewitt.
wiping the floor, Jay.
She's
Crazy.
leaving this as soon as this game's over.
I know, really. Forget about the giveaway. She's not reading anything.
Number 8. Which Canadian city hosted an Olympic Games?
Montreal.
Okay.
Yes, she got one.
I know because we have an Olympic stadium.
Nice.
So,
And this one's easy too. What are the number 9? What are the 2 official languages used in Canada?
French and English.
Do you
Do
speak
you watch?
fluent
Do you
French?
watch Letterkenny?
No,
You don't watch the show called Letterkenny?
no, I don't even know what it is.
Oh,
is
my-
it an
you and
older
Brett-
show or a
No,
newer
it's
show?
newer. It's newer. It
Okay.
takes place in Canada. I think Nikki knows about it. It takes place. It like their Canadian accents are so deep. They talk fast, and that's
Okay.
just what makes it. It's on Hulu. Never mind. Gosh,
I
just
gotta,
keep
I gotta
going.
check it out.
She'll know this one too. Number 10, how many total provinces exist in Canada?
Provinces, not
Provinces.
territories, right?
Not territories.
Just
Okay.
provinces. Yes.
Okay.
Name the 3 largest metropolitan areas of Canada.
Toronto,
Yep.
Vancouver.
Yep.
Hmm,
You've already said the 3rd one.
Halifax.
Nope.
Montreal.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were talking like outside the game. I was like, what? wasn't that metropolitan.
Here's another sports question for you.
Oh, goodness.
Who was the first Canadian to win the Olympic gold medal in 1900? It's a historical
Come
fiction
on.
question, too.
Yes, the Olympics are happening right now. Come on. Are they over?
They're over,
Are they
they're over Jay.
Oh,
They're
Yeah.
It's been a long week, guys. Okay.
I know our women's soccer team won gold this year. No clue. As I said, sports is just not even in my sphere for now.
Who is it, Jay?
George Orton.
What do you win? What do you win gold in?
I believe it's what's it called? The 2,500
Curling.
meter steeplechase.
Steeplechase.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. Steeplechase. It sounds like a horse event.
Well, it's one of those made up Olympic games.
All right, our final question. Which Canadian invented instant mashed potatoes in 1962?
So we have a Canadian thing for instant mashed potatoes.
We do.
Yeah.
Hey, I know we came up with penicillin.
Nice.
So-
That's important.
I have a Kentucky joke, but
And
I won't do it.
for
What's your Kentucky joke, Jay?
oh,
Just go ahead.
Kentucky
Go
invented toothbrush
Yeah.
because it was anywhere else it'd be a teeth brush. Sorry,
That's
sorry,
right.
Brad. I love you, man. Oh,
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
What's the answer, Jay? Who made instant mashed potatoes?
Edward Asselbergs.
you know that?
Never heard of him.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
He
okay.
made up all these questions. Look, he's throwing away the answers.
I knew it. I was like,
That was
man,
our-
he's so good. He probably watches a bunch of Jeopardy or something, and that's how he knows all his answers.
That was our O Canadian trivia game.
Oh,
Thanks for
boy.
playing, Lee. Thanks for playing, Leah.
So
That
I
was a
think,
disaster, Jay.
You know what?
Who knows the answer to who made up
I know.
instant mashed potatoes?
Those
Come
were
on
some
now.
of the worst. So I had to look up Canadian trivia, and my internet kept saying there is none. There is none. So, okay.
That was fun. Thank you for playing, though, Lee. Thanks for going along with it.
Are we doing?
yes, I am fully humiliated now, but that's okay.
That's okay. No one else knew the answers either except Jay because he
I know.
had the answers with him.
Those could all have been made up because I was telling the internet the answers. I was just,
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. So would you like to go ahead and do your reading?
Do I hear crickets?
I do hear crickets.
Do I
Yeah.
hear
Do you have
that
crickets in your
game
house?
brought crickets out?
I think the crickets are below the I think they're below the desk.
Do you have
Seriously?
like a snake or a mouse or something you feed crickets to? Or they just
No.
you have crickets? No.
They're just crickets. Like they find their way in my garage.
That was just very
And my
appropriate
husband's
because that game went
workshop.
nowhere. Yeah, that was just appropriate because that game went nowhere. Total crickets. So what are the rules for the giveaway, Brad, that we're doing?
Yeah, go ahead and do that while I find my
Okay,
place
so
here.
starting tomorrow, if you find paper cuts on Twitter and Instagram, we're going to post a giveaway. Here in this, I'll go ahead and put it up. You can put in this code word in the comments for an extra entry into the giveaway. Well, that's the code word on there. For people who might be listening on podcast, the code word is gold.
The password is gold.
Password. So you put that in the comments on Twitter and Instagram tomorrow when I post the giveaway info. There's going to be two winners. There's going to be a grand prize winner and a first place winner. Grand prize winner gets a signed copy of Wisps of Gold,
Hey, look, you could be like us.
plus the sequel novella and ebook Scathed Bones. And then the other winner will get an ebook copy of Wisps of Gold and the ebook of Scathed Bones.
What's up with the names, Leah? Come on.
I can't say wisps.
Like it should have been like Whispers of Gold and Scathed Bones. Well, how about Scabby Bones? Or
Scabby. That's gross, James. Scabby bones. Come on now.
Scabby, and that infers that there's like flesh on the bones still.
Right.
That's right.
Isn't.
Jeez.
Or yeah,
So
if you read the book, you'll find out there isn't any flesh on the bones.
Ooh. So
Is
all the
the,
giveaway info will be on Twitter and Instagram tomorrow. And if you put code word gold in the comments. You'll get a bonus entry as well.
Yeah.
Is the crickets going to mess with your reading?
Hopefully
Yeah.
not. Could you still
It
hear me?
adds it's ambiance, Jay.
Yeah, it's a mood setter. Here
His
we go.
Rose is outside, so it's ambiance.
Now you just need to I need to go outside with my flashlight underneath my chin, get that eerie,
The eerie
ghost
face.
story. Yeah, exactly. By the way, I just wanted to say, before I do my reading, going into writing this book was completely, very much out of my comfort zone. Before I started reading horror, and I know for you, Jay, you're like, this is not horror, but for me, this is really going out of my comfort zone. And then Scathed Bones even went deeper out of my comfort zone, and now
So this Wisps of Gold
Yeah.
was out of your comfort zone, because I mean it had the murder mystery, whodunit, type feel to it. But I mean,
yeah. Well,
I
guess
like to do a
even just-
change of pace every now and then.
Yeah. Even just writing the scene where she finds her father dead, I was like, ooh.
Well, yeah, that was pretty. The smell and all that stuff, that was cool.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I think I mentioned there were some horror undertones that crossed over. Because the
Exactly.
smell, she knew something was decaying or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah.
It's all good.
That's a kind of with every book, I want to dip out of my comfort zone more and more. And that's kind of also a personal goal of mine, is to try something new, something that I'm not used to. So
What are you going to read for us tonight?
I am going to read, this is from chapter 7. So she's already found her father. She's buried him. And now comes this presence in the middle of the night. And she finds something on her doorstep that is going to push her into finding her father's gold, even though she doesn't want to. So
Okay.
I'll start with that. A wave of chills swept over her skin, though the covers were still on, as her ears picked up an eerie cry. Priscilla! Her friend is staying with her, Priscilla. She vaulted from her bed and hurried to relight her lamp. While she lit the flame, she realized the noise wasn't a scream as she had first thought. Instead, it was the horses neighing uncontrollably, fear lacing their every cry. She counted herself fortunate she could wake up in the middle of the night if need be, because Joe, it seemed Jack as well, was a very heavy sleeper. She put on her robe and padded downstairs. She made sure to keep quiet. As she entered the barn, her lamp illuminated the flaring nostrils of both horses. Their eyes intimated they had seen a fleeting specter. She attempted to grab the horse's halters. Shh, it's all right. I'm here. Calm down. Their eye movements eventually slowed, their gazes occasionally darting toward a dark corner. Their heads hesitatingly lowered, and they accepted her hand of calm. What could have made you act this way? She sifted around the barn. Nothing seemed to have been disturbed. Good night. Rest now. Full of trepidation, she walked to the opening of the barn and peered down the lane, both to the left and to the right. She turned to the left and walked a little ways away from the safety of the house and barn. The air was warm and stagnant. Beads of perspiration traveled down her neck. Her hands shook slightly. There was nothing. The ghost of father? Of course not. What nonsense. A foreboding feeling overcoming her senses, she tripped over herself and ran back to the house. Before she opened the door, she caught sight of an envelope with red lettering written across, tucked into the door. She grabbed it and dropped it a moment later. The red lettering was clearly written in blood, her name a shattering crimson. She picked it up and ran inside, shutting the door quickly before any invisible assailant could creep in. She stood in the entrance, not knowing what to do with it. She licked her lips and exhaled deeply. Taking 2 steps at a time up the stairs, she checked on Priscilla. Her friend was sleeping like a baby. The harmless little creak of closing Priscilla's door made Rose jump. She sat down upon her bed and stared at the ghastly sight. She took a sip of water from her glass. Her hand shook violently. She spilled a large amount of water on the envelope, darkening the blood-lettered name into a mud-brown splotch. She ripped open the envelope to find a single sheet with unfamiliar handwriting. Your father dead, bones to dust. Remember all the memories you must. I am not willing that you forget. For Harlanwood's treasure you must get. It is not a rumor, it is truth. Those whispers are your noose. The more you hear, the tighter it will wrap, colder than a fetter. So hunting you must go for me. There's no way out, you see. You will do as you are told, or in death you will lie cold. And that is where she is forced to start her journey in finding the gold. That she does not.
Dun. How far are you on that, Brad?
Not very far. I got to like page, let's see.
I hope I didn't ruin it for you.
You did.
That's okay. You didn't spoil it.
That's why I didn't say anything. I knew you were going to read.
I got to page 36, chapter 3.
Okay.
I didn't get far, but I am really enjoying your writing style and just the world so far. Because like I said, I love historical fiction, and I like the gold rush and all that kind of stuff. So this is sort of fitting into that with Gold Fever. I'm really digging it so far.
Fiber RT saying, fantastic. Can't wait to read this. Hoping to get to it next month.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
So she has a schedule.
Yes.
I do
a
not.
TBR that she follows.
Yeah.
So was there anything else that you said in this book made you sort of feel out of your comfort zone, or was it just mainly sort of the death and the murder part of it?
Yeah, those two things, but also the fact that I really didn't want this character to be extremely likable. I wanted her to have issues, and specifically, as a young lady,
she's a rebel.
Repressed. Sorry?
She's a rebel.
Yeah, she feels repressed right at finishing school because that's just what they did back then. And so her dalliance also with lust, and that is an issue for her throughout this book, and how that affects her relationships. That was really out of my comfort zone for me, because just the nuances of all that, and how does she deal with that, and she's interested in someone, but then there's someone else, but sometimes the heart wants what it wants, but it's not good for you, and so that whole kind of heart play, that was really out of my comfort zone. And even a few of my readers were kind of like, whoa, okay, this is different. Oh, I guess my first book is more heartwarming. It's more like tidy, whereas this, I let the strings unravel a little bit and kind of show that darker side of, humanity, I guess. So.
And that's why you've got all the horror readers wanting to read it now.
Yeah, well, I was surprised by Robert, because when he read it, he's like, "Oh, it's my favorite book that I read last year." I was
he
like,
did
wow.
say that. I remember that. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Okay, that's high praise coming from like someone in horror." And Jay, I thought it was a miracle he gave me 4 stars, so I wasn't expecting that. I know this is not your type of book, so I was like, "Oh dear."
I like to step out of my comfort zone every now and then. I mean, you can find gems sometimes when you step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
There are several books that I've checked out that are not, horror and dark fiction that I've enjoyed. So.
Yeah.
And it's nice to read. Like if you do read horror, a lot of it can feel the same and monotonous after a while. And to read something different is like a breath of fresh air. So, this is really good. It's something different I'm not used to. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I love to spread myself across different genres too. So horror is just kind of like an extra nice addition to the genres that I read. But yeah, so that's
you probably like some Southern Grit stuff, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I can recommend you some of those.
I bought Megan Lucas's book just recently.
Yes,
that's a good start. Yeah,
Songbirds and Stray Dogs, and then also the.
I give it a 5. That's not a horror. That was my top book of last year.
It's right on the edge of horror, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I said it like the horrors of humanity, the horrors of life,
Exactly.
But it was my top book of 20. What year are we in? 2020.
Last year, yeah.
And then I also picked up Betty, which I heard a lot about.
I have not read that yet.
Yeah, Jay, remember we're supposed to do our buddy read in November.
Are we?
Yeah, you're the one that
I-
suggested it.
I gotta stop agreeing to some of these things.
I gotta hold you to it.
Yeah, Betty's amazing.
Yeah. Donald Ray Pollock. Brad, I think we were supposed to do Heavenly Table.
Yeah, we need to do that.
The Devil All the Time is great. That's a 5 for me.
Okay, that's Southern Grit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a Rust Belt that's up in Ohio.
Okay, very.
I don't think it's not Rust Belt down there though. It's Southern. Some of it goes into West Virginia.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they go to like Florida and stuff, but yeah, that's beside the point. What this one is your sort of historical thing? Is it Gold Fever for this one, or is it a more specific event?
Yeah, no, so it's the Gold Rush. But what's
Okay.
interesting about this one is I didn't have the idea for this one until I had the idea for the sequel, which is the legendary serial killer Agnes McBee. I came across her, I don't even remember where, and I was like, whoa, that's a cool story. But I knew that I didn't, I guess because it's a legend, I didn't want to center a whole novel on that just because, you know, legends have this almost intouchability to them, and I didn't want to try to cross that threshold. So when I heard that idea, then I was like, oh, okay, now I got to work backwards. So then I started looking at the years, and I was like, okay, what can I? So then I started looking at the event of the Gold Rush, and then the mile houses really stuck out at me because you hear all about, you know, men going into the gold fields and actually searching for the gold. But then I came across the mile houses, and that's where they would stop and, you know, sleep there for the night, have their meal, and then keep going on their merry way. And I was thinking, well, what about those people who run the mile houses? What would that have been like? And then I read this other book about a woman who ran a brothel, like a prostitute house back in that time. And basically, like, the only things that women can do as an independent woman back then was to run a place like that or real estate. And even then it was very difficult for women to kind of have that independence. So once I read that book, I was like, yeah, okay. So my character is going to own a mile house, but how's that going to happen when she's only, 17, 18? It's a coming of age tale, right? Like she doesn't have the capital. And then that's where the whole father came in, and then the gold. And so then it started coming
all
together.
the pieces started to go into place. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really making me want to read the
backwards on
Scathed
that.
Bones novella.
Yeah. But then
So
when you go, so Scathed Bones happens 1.5 to 2 years later. And then it's not even the legend itself. It's kind of like the pre-legend, how Agnes McBee might have started her killing spree and how my character comes across her and what that would have been like. So
Nice.
Yeah.
See, now we're going to burn through this one so I can read Scathed Bones because that one sounded dope with the serial killer.
And it's not even long. It's like 87 pages. It's very short. But
Nice.
So more up your alley, you know, horror novella. No, I'm joking.
No, this one, I'm really into the Gold Rush and stuff. So this one is really fun so far. I'm liking it.
Oh, good.
I have a feeling that, like, from here on out, since she's dabbling in horror some, like, all of her stuff's just going to get darker and darker and darker.
Yeah, she keeps saying this one's a little bit darker,
Automatically,
and then this
yeah.
one's a little bit darker, and then she's just like straight up like extreme horror is gonna be like her last one.
Yeah.
No, weirdly enough, that I am actually feeling it. I really am.
Don't go too extreme, though.
No, I don't think I have anything that could go super extreme unless maybe supernatural, but I don't know when that would come up or if it would come up. But the one that I'm writing now, I'm dealing with a lot heavier topics, maybe more sensitive topic, even with people today and how they view this topic. And so for me, it's actually really coming out of my comfort zone again, because I want to show this topic in a way on both sides. But yeah, it's hard. Well, it's hard to explain, but you know, it's also the rise of feminism during that time too, and what that would have looked like with you know, a character working for the American Army all the way up north. What does that, you know, type of lifestyle look like? And then the consequences of relationships up there. So it's definitely something that I am uncomfortable writing, but the story is calling for it. And so I just go where the story goes and where the characters want me to go. That's what I do.
Can you tease the title for book 3? Do you have a title yet? Are you allowed to say? Are you allowed to tell yourself that you can say it or
yeah.
not?
Do you need to talk to your
You don't have to.
publicist?
No.
Blah, blah.
She just
I
turns
am a
around.
one-woman
"Leah, can I say
show."
this?"
I was gonna say, you need to turn around and talk to yourself. You know, the other
Yeah,
voices.
no. I have conversations with myself.
Yourself.
With ourselves. You
Yeah.
all heard it. With ourselves.
And
Multiple.
my
Breaking news.
characters are the ones that I have conversations with. They're the bosses, really. The one I'm working on, I had a title just because I have to have a working title when I start.
Uh-huh.
If I don't have a title, it just doesn't feel like I can start, which is really weird. But the title I think I've settled on is Unborn Notes.
Oh, I like that.
Got it.
I might be wrong.
I think that's the one that's sticking.
Is this the one with World War II you said earlier?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one is the historical event around that is the building of the Canal pipeline. So I don't know if you guys know this about your own history, but
Probably not.
after Pearl Harbor, the Americans were scared that the Japs were going to come from the west, and so they needed bases in Alaska they wanted bases in Alaska basically to be ready for a Western invasion. And so they needed a highway from, Washington State through British Columbia, up through Yukon to Alaska. But they also needed oil, right? Because you need to fuel all your jets and planes and tanks and trucks and all that. So they got the oil from Canal Camp, which is in the Northwest Territories. And so the American government made an agreement with the Canadian government to go ahead and do this project. But it was actually abandoned like 2 years later because it was very obvious that there was going to be no Western invasion. So that tidbit of history just really fascinating.
Well, I knew more Canadian history.
You knew trivia, okay? And I know very specific history. Except the Canada one, really, I should have known that. Like, that is the one I'm most embarrassed about, seriously.
So as we start winding down a little bit here, where can everyone find you? All your socials.
So I have a website, leahlindeman.com. So,
and Brad usually has that with the video later on too, but just for the people.
Yes, it should all be in the description right now. All your the links that I found.
Perfect. Yeah, and so my channel is now officially Pen to Paper, so you can go there for booktube videos and authortube writing advice and tips. And then I also have Instagram. That's Leah T. Lind. I also have a Facebook page. Same thing. Have
Did they buy the books directly from you? Did they need to go to Amazon and buy them or what?
Yeah, you can go to Amazon. If you're in Canada, it's on indigo.ca. That's kind of like our Barnes & Nobles up here, our brick and mortar stores. So that's there. And it is on Barnes & Noble. It's on Kobo and Nook. Basically, any of the Apple device, all the ebook platforms. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And Brad, you want to touch on the contest one more time before we get out of here?
Yeah, so tomorrow on the Paper Cuts Twitter and Instagram, I'll have a post up, and you can enter the code word GOLD in the comments for an extra entry into the contest. The grand prize winner will get a signed copy of Wisps of Gold, physical copy signed, plus the ebook sequel SCATHED Bones. These runner-up will win an ebook copy of Wisp of Gold and SCATHED Bones as well.
And when are we doing the drawings for this?
Drawings will be done on Friday, so have all week to enter.
All right. This was exciting.
This was
Leah,
fun.
Thanks so much for joining us. We won't hear from her after the show.
No, especially if you cheated in that game, Jay.
She's going to unfriend us on Twitter and Instagram and unsubscribe to our channels and everything.
You make me sound so cold-hearted.
You make me sound so sarcastic. Well, okay, never mind.
Because you are.
Call a spade, Jay.
Okay, I guess we'll keep it at that. All right, any parting words, everyone? Are we good?
I'll just say, if you want to connect with Leah, all of her links should be in the description. Her website, Twitter, Instagram, where to buy her books, all that stuff. Definitely go check out some of her books. I haven't finished it yet, but Wisp of Gold is really fun so far.
This was a super awesome episode. It's been another great episode of. Remember I used to, do that other show. I had to put the ump into it. Paper cuts. No. All right. For Leah Lindeman, our special guest this week, and my partner in crime, pointing the wrong way again. Brad Proctor.
It's always so backwards. It's so hard.
Yeah.
See, it's all
my name
back.
is Jay. See you guys later till we meet again. Stay safe.
Thanks
Love
for
you,
coming,
Brad.
Leah. Love you, Jay.